Well, Hillary Clinton said this is a night for all little girls who dream big. Clinton just made history as the first woman nominated by a major party for President of the United States. And her husband and former President Bill Clinton just walked out on stage a few minutes ago and made his case in a very different kind of speech for Bill Clinton. We've heard him play the role of explainer-in-chief in recent years, explaining Democratic policies and why he thinks they are best for working-class families. This speech, though, focused on his wife, Hillary Clinton, as a wife, a girlfriend, a mother, and a leader within her community, and an agent of change, someone who he says has been a guiding light in his life and career for decades. Through joy and through heartbreak, he walked us through a lifetime of memories, but he also stressed she is driven by the idea of generating positive change, and here is how he says she does it.
This woman has never been satisfied with the status quo in anything. She always wants to move the ball forward. That is just who she is.
And he says there is a false narrative portrayed by Donald Trump and the Republicans, painting her as a cartoon character. He spoke to the person he has known for most of his life.
Those of us who have more yesterdays than tomorrow tend to care more about our children and grandchildren. The reason you should elect her is that in the greatest country on earth, we have always been about tomorrow. Your children and grandchildren will bless you forever if you do. God bless you. Thank you.
Which is a bit of a throwback to 1992, running on the theme of tomorrow and change, bringing us back to the 1990s. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders played a key role in Hillary Clinton's nomination tonight, speaking to the holdouts in the arena, still loyal to him. He joined the Vermont delegation and called for a unanimous voice vote in order to bring this party together. Take a look.
Madam Chair, I move that the convention suspend the procedural rules. I move that all votes cast by delegates be reflected in the official record. And I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
And with that, the Democratic Party is moving toward unity, but again, some Bernie Sanders supporters are still not sold on Clinton. She'll have to make that case on Thursday, which brings us to a number of delegates, for example, in Florida, like Sanjay Patel.
This is my first convention, so it's very exciting.
Flip around, let's see you back.
Sure.
So now, this is just a guess. You're for Bernie Sanders, or somebody put that on your back?
No, absolutely, I'm for Bernie Sanders.
And he's not sold on Hillary Clinton.
She's got to earn my support.
So you might stay home, you might not vote?
I think I'll vote. I'm pretty sure.
You think you'll vote?
I'm pretty sure I'll vote. For us to have true unity, we need to make sure that we don't have emails come out that say the system's rigged against you.
Wait a minute. I think those emails have already come out that say just that.
Well, what we need to make sure is the issues of we need big money out of politics. We want to make sure that fracking is eliminated, especially out of our state of Florida. We want the TPP to be eliminated. So there's a number of...
Do you think Hillary Clinton will do any of those things?
Unlikely, I think. Very unlikely.
Then how does she earn your trust?
I think that we have to hold her accountable to it. We represent millions of Bernie Sanders supporters. I think that she's going to have to hear us. And if she doesn't, she loses that White House. And unfortunately, I think that it may already be too late.
And there lies the challenge and the mission for Hillary Clinton. She has to inspire progressives who enter this convention a bit discouraged. And that won't be easy because Clinton is known more for pragmatism and know-how over her ability to inspire and excite. And of course, the Democrats are coming off of a very tough war, just as the Republicans did earlier this year. So to put the rifts and some of the issues that we're seeing this week in perspective, on the lighter side, we have Trail Tales. Once again, in the spirit of Ken Burns, we bring you the Democratic War of 2016.
It's time now for Trail Tales. As General Clinton set course for Washington, 4 rivals challenged her claim to the throne. But ragtag militias were no match for the Royal Army.
The presidency of the United States is not some crown to be passed between 2 families.
The governor of Maryland folded like a cheap suit, and the former Secretary of the Navy ran out of time as he squandered his time in battle complaining about time.
People are going back and forth here for 10 minutes here. Let's start by trying to get into this conversation about 10 minutes. I've been waiting for 10 minutes. This hasn't been equal time. Unless somebody mentions my name, I can't get into the discussion.
You agreed to these rules and you're wasting time.
Major Lincoln Chafee tried to divert the Clinton advance and shorten the war by changing the system.
Let's be bold. Let's join the rest of the world and go metric.
But when the restless progressives wanted to change the system, that's not what they meant.
I think you're being a little rough.
Major Chafee blundered in battle and fell on his sword.
The Glass-Steagall was my very first vote. I just arrived. My dad had died in office. I was appointed to the office. It was my very first vote.
Are you saying you didn't know what you were voting for?
I just arrived at the Senate.
As the ragtag militias exhausted their weapons and supplies, only one rival remained. But Bernard Sanders was far more equipped than military field reports had suggested.
I have an ample supply of underwear.
General Clinton built a firewall, but Sanders burnt right through it. It launched that famous battle cry, "Feel the burn."
Clinton's army tried to squash the revolt, but Feel the Burn spread like wildfire.
You are prepared to go forward with a political revolution.
But as supreme commander of the insurrection, Bernard Sanders fueled his rebellion with promises of free college and health care to a generation mired in debt and weary of war.
And I want each and every one of you to march right in.
They fought through 50 states in a sheer battle of wills.
This campaign is going to win.
Fight for the country we love and fight for the future we deserve.
The revolutionaries worked out a plan to surprise the Royal Army with a Western invasion.
That work is going to translate into a major, major victory.
But General Clinton also faced challenge from within her own ranks that would prolong the war and inflict terrible damage on her campaign.
I fully complied with every rule that I was governed by.
Secretary Clinton, any response to the IG report?
What do you think about the Inspector General report?
It set the stage for the defining battle, with Clinton surrounded and her party divided.
Okay, and so goes Chapter 2 in the Democratic War of 2016. If you missed Chapter 1, if you missed the Republican War of 2016, or any of our Trail Tale segments, you can find them by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Search for Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics on YouTube, and subscribe at the top of the page for parodies and extended interviews, investigations, and prior shows you may have missed. Of course, now the Democrats are trying to move beyond their war and unite, and former President Bill Clinton certainly did his part tonight, so coming up, we're going to score it. Coming up, we'll show you how the Florida delegates are reacting to the speeches and the drama. Congresswoman Kathy Castor will join us. She met with former President Clinton backstage, and Adam Goodman will join us with Republican Perspective. The Florida delegates are at the front of the arena, stage left. Florida sent 169 delegates for Clinton and 75 for Sanders, and they started this convention divided.
I think after this convention we'll all be agreeing.
Hell no, DNC, we won't vote for Hillary.
Hillary Clinton hopes so, but the protests in the streets show it will not be easy.
Well, I do understand that they're out there, but they're not actually delegates. They're a bunch of protesters that...
Maybe they're voters.
They could be voters.
They could make a big difference in November.
Well, if they want to elect Trump, then they will make a difference. I think Bernie's platform did help our platform move further to the left, and I think that was great. If these kids or people do not vote, then they're handing the election to Trump, and it's going to be on their shoulders.
So then how can Democrats rally the Bernie Sanders holdouts?
Bernie Sanders and his supporters made a huge contribution in this political cycle and this campaign. I think that the message of getting big money out of politics was heard loud and clear. I think that's made a real lasting contribution. I think that we've seen in the platform and with Hillary Clinton's positions, even recently, the statement that we've got to overturn Citizens United. I think that's a great deal of credit to the sincerity of the Sanders campaign. And I think that's where we can have some significant bridges to work together on a really critical, foundational reform piece that will make our democracy stronger.
And of course, tonight, former President Bill Clinton made his case to the delegates and voters across the nation, and Congresswoman Kathy Castor had some unique perspective earlier backstage.
You know, I was just backstage with President Clinton, and his message was, we know, even with the economic progress we have made in this country, especially since the Great Recession, we need higher wages, we need more affordable college education, we've got to do a better job keeping America safe and strong in the years ahead.
Now, he certainly moved the needle for President Obama 4 years ago when he spoke.
Yeah.
Do you expect the same? How much does he need to move the needle this week?
I think it's a team effort. When you're a Democrat, it's a team. To have President Obama, President Clinton, Michelle Obama, the First Lady, and now this we're on a historic threshold of electing the most experienced, knowledgeable woman for the first time ever as President of the United States. So this is going to be our lifting off point. Democrats are never really that organized, but I'm pretty impressed with this turnout here and look forward to great things this week.
What about the Bernie Sanders supporters who are understandably miffed by the emails that came out? What do you say to them to jump behind a candidate that they may be disinclined to support in light of recent events?
You say Donald Trump is a threat to our country, our economic stability, the ability to keep us safe. He's entirely too risky. I think people are going to realize in this day and age, it's more important to go with someone who has the knowledge, who has the experience to keep America safe at home and abroad.
Next big speech will be coming from President Obama. What do you expect from the president to send things off?
I think we're going to reflect upon how far the American people have come, all of the progress. Gas prices are low. 20 million Americans have health insurance that didn't have it before. The housing market is back. Crime rates are generally falling, even despite what you heard at the Republican convention, but we still have a ways to go. Higher wages, more affordable college, rebuilding America. And I think we'll celebrate his presidency and then talk about what we have to do in the future.
Okay, we've moved now from the broadcast booth over to our workspace to bring in Republican perspective from Adam Goodman, a familiar face. Thank you for joining us. Different kind of convention this week, is it not?
It's a lot hotter, a little less organized, but the fireworks have already begun. Just when we thought we had seen everything in 4 days of the Trump convention, we now have the beginning of 4 days of we have no idea what's going to happen convention with Bernie Sanders front and center last night.
Well, you had disunity in the Republican convention, and with this, Donald Trump gets a 5-6 point bounce according to some polls. So even attention that may be negative could get people more interested and actually drive up the numbers. Could the same thing happen here?
No question. Controversy, things that don't go according to script, those are all made for order television in the world of reality, right? So I think the Democrats are going to, have 3 more days to basically help right their ship. But last night, even though the television audience saw what seemed to be a fairly tightly choreographed, at times entertaining, but way off the chart, kind of liberal presentation of ideology, what was happening on the floor, as you know, Craig, was a far different story.
Adam Goodman, thank you so much for your time and perspective. We'll bring you back. Coming up, we'll drill into Bill Clinton's speech. Does the Clinton mystique still hold? And can he win back the Democrats who put him in the White House? Evan Axelbank has the answers. Well, Mitt Romney once said a speech from Bill Clinton can do a fella some good in 2012 after Clinton rocked it in Charlotte and burned Mitt Romney. So, did former President Bill Clinton do it again? Let's bring in Evan Axelbank now to score it. Evan.
And good evening, Craig. This was a little different than we've ever heard Bill Clinton. Usually it's economy, national pride, and some partisan shots. Instead, Bill Clinton spent the better part of an hour recounting his relationship with Hillary Clinton. He told the long personal story of how it grew to argue Republicans have made up their impression of Hillary as crooked. He said you couldn't possibly square the two interpretations. So he said instead you have to pick one.
Well, if you win elections on the theory that government is always bad and will mess up a two-car parade, a real change maker represents a real threat. So, your only option is to create a cartoon alternative, then run against the cartoon. Cartoons are two-dimensional. They're easy to absorb. Life in the real world is complicated, and real change is hard.
Clinton did get in a few partisan shots in addition to that tape you just saw, hoping to appeal to immigrants and to Muslims. He said if you're working hard, obeying the law, and paying taxes, you should choose immigration reform over someone who wants to, quote, send you home. He said if you're a young African American who is afraid, he said help us build a society where no one is afraid to walk outside, including the people who wear blue. He closed with a riff on his familiar theme, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. For Money, Power, and Politics, I'm Evan Axelbank.
Coming up, we'll bring you reaction live from Philly, impact on the race, and predictions for tomorrow night. Well, Hillary Clinton will accept the nomination on Thursday night, but on this historic night, she also addressed the arena by video from New York. Take a look.
And I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Thanks to you and to everyone who's fought so hard to make this possible. This is really your...
Well, this was 8 years in the making. She previously remarked about putting some 18 million cracks in that glass ceiling. Tonight, she breaks through, becomes the first woman nominated by a major party for president. The next step for the DNC, Barack Obama, the president of the United States, speaks tomorrow night. You're getting a double dose from the Democratic Party, two of its biggest stars, best able to energize a crowd. And you saw Bill Clinton trying to soften the image of his wife and present a dual reality, or a reality and what he says is a cartoon version presented by the Republicans. In the next 72 hours, we will see to what extent Bill Clinton moved the needle from his speech tonight. Of course, the big night will be on Thursday night. We're going to bring you a breakdown with our special guest, Bob Buckhorn, tomorrow night. Of course, Trail Tales is back. We'll break down President Obama's speech as well. Charlie Belcher will also join us with some color. All of that on Money, Power, Politics tomorrow night at 11:30.